When I was 4 and 5 years old, I desperately wanted to go fishing with my father. And I badgered that poor man incessantly, Dad, can I go fishing? Can I go fishing? Please, can I go? Can I go? And his answer was always the same. When you're older, I'll take you fishing when you're older. So the summer I turned 6 years old, I renewed my campaign, and I said, Dad, when we go on vacation this summer, can I please go fishing with you? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, you're old enough to go fishing now. Of course, you're going to need some stardust. Stardust? Absolutely. Every fisherman knows that if you have stardust on your fishing pole, the first time you go fishing, you are guaranteed to catch the first fish of the day. Sounded good to me. Do we have any? You don't have to worry about that at all. Your Uncle Harrison knows everything there is to know about stardust. Write him a letter, tell him you're going fishing for the first time, and he'll take care of you. Well, my Uncle Harrison lived in Vermont. And when I was a boy, my family vacationed every summer in Vermont. We always went back to the same place, Ma's house, my mother's childhood home, where her mother, Ma, still lived. It was a large, white, wood-frame farmhouse. And all summer long, it was just teeming with relatives, because my mother was one of 9 children. All 9 married and had children of their own, and all 9, every summer, made the pilgrimage back to Ma's house with their spouses and children in tow. It was this great ebb and flow of aunts, uncles, and cousins all summer long. And during those vacations, my father and whatever uncles were around would go fishing. I wanted to go with them, so I took my father's advice, and with help from my mother, I wrote that letter to Uncle Harrison. And that summer, I was clutching that letter as the family station wagon made its way up the rutted driveway to Ma's house. And there in the side yard was Uncle Harrison mowing the lawn. A couple minutes later, I was running down the driveway, going to hand deliver that letter. Uncle Harrison stopped mowing, mopped his brow, knelt down to talk to me. Hey, little Tony, good to see you. How have you been? What's that? A letter for me? Ah, you're going fishing. That'll be fun. And Stardust, did you know that this is the peak time to harvest stardust? I didn't know that. I said, yeah, won't be any trouble getting plenty of stardust for this trip, for your fishing trip. Thanks, Uncle Harrison. I ran up the hill to talk to my parents, tell them the amazing news. 2 days later, my father called me into the barn and he handed me a yellow fiberglass fishing pole with an enclosed spin cast reel. Now it was used, a little bit dinged up, but it was mine and I thought it was beautiful. My dad showed me how to use it, how to cast and how to operate the reel. And then he said, now Tony, I need you to go to bed early tonight because tomorrow morning we're going to get up before dawn and we're going fishing. But when you go to bed tonight, you make sure you put that fishing pole at the end of the bed so Uncle Harrison can come in and put stardust on that fishing pole while you're sleeping. He's got to do it at night. Has to be done in the dark when the moon is up. Makes sense to me. So I went to bed early that night. I went to bed so early, I could still hear my sisters and my cousins playing in the yard. It was bright out when I went to bed. But it was dark when I heard those solitary footsteps coming up the stairs and down the hallway and pausing at my bedroom door. And I pretended to be asleep, but you know I was peeking, and I saw Uncle Harrison silently slip into the room and move to the foot of the bed. And I could see his silhouette framed against the moon-bright window as he sprinkled stardust on that fishing pole and then slipped out of the room. Can you imagine how I felt? I was 6 years old. I was excited. I was thrilled. I was I was happy. And I happily drifted off to sleep and dreamt of very large fish. It seemed like a moment later, my father was at my side, shaking my shoulder gently, saying, "Tony, wake up, we're going fishing." I pulled the blankets off of me, jumped out of my bed, and my father laughed to see that I was fully dressed, including my shoes. I didn't want to take a chance on being left behind for being late. We got to the lake, launched the boat, and after a couple of tugs, Uncle Harrison got that old Evinrude engine to cough to life with a puff of blue smoke. And my father, my uncles, and I were gliding through the pre-dawn mist, rising slowly from the smooth black surface of the lake. And I was in love with fishing. We went on for a few minutes, and then the engine slowed and sputtered to a stop. We drifted quietly for a moment. My father said, "What do you think, Tony? This a good spot?" "Yeah, Dad." I didn't know. I didn't care. I just wanted to fish. "Okay, what we're going to do, son, is I'll bait your hook for you. We'll put your line in first and see what happens." Now, to this day, I do not know if they had caught a fish earlier and put it on my line, or if Stardust really works. But I do know as soon as my bobbin hit the surface of the water, it was tugged underneath, and my uncle and my father were cheering me on to reel in my first fish, a perch. Can you see it? A beauty, a keeper. Now, when I think of that Stardust fishing trip, I am in awe of my father and my uncles when I think of all the trouble they took to trick me and create that wonderful memory. I mean, you have to understand, these were tough guys with rough, calloused hands. Had lived long, hard lives. They came of age during the Great Depression, had to leave school to support their families, and as young men were called off to a horrific war. But they were good men. They had lived hard lives, but were not hardened by life. They still appreciated the sparkle a little Stardust could bring. They knew all too well that in this life you cannot eliminate life's sorrows, but more importantly, they knew that you can add to life's joys. So take a tip from my fishing buddies, my dad, and my uncles. Create joyful memories. Sparkle while you can. Be someone's Stardust. Thank you.